Congratulations, I have to say, on this issue, the anniversary issue, because I think it's absolutely terrific. There are about, 20 or so theories in here, amazing theories about how communication works, and thoroughly worth a read. And of course, we're at a time in our industry when there are just many, many theories about communication that we hear at conferences, that we hear in our corridors, and that we read from the various commentators. So we're rich in theories. So I didn't think that I should kind of arrive tonight and add just yet another theory on top of everyone else's theories. Instead, what I thought I'd do is I'd kind of collect together and review the theories we've got and see what there is, and maybe address the question, how do we operate now when we seem to have so many different competing theories of what's right that seem to contradict? How do we advise our clients on what to do to build their brands and businesses where there doesn't seem to be remotely a clear answer to that question? And I'm going to use this strange flower visual here for this evening. And around the outside are just a few categories of theories that I've collected, and pretty much any theory of communication today you can broadly fit into any one of these particular theories. And I'm going to talk about them all a little bit, and then we're going to take a vote at the end, and you're going to do that with your mobile phone. So just for once, keep your mobile phone on, and we'll use them at the end, and we'll see which one is ultimately the winner. I'm going to start with the one called storytelling content, and this is probably the one that's had the longest history, so I'll say the most about this and then just a few words about the other things, because content has had a bit of a sort of checkered history in our industry. I think you go back to about the late 90s, and we created that sentence, didn't we? Let's not interrupt people, let's engage them. And we've been dining out on that sentence now for about 15 or so years, and we haven't particularly changed it much. And it started, of course, at that time when we realized that people could avoid the advertising. And therefore, wouldn't it be better if brands, instead of being in the advertising space, could be in the program space on television? Would that not be much better? And we started calling the program space content. Much the same way as the soap brands created soap operas back in the 50s. It was simply a reinvention of that. But of course, the term content we expanded, didn't we, to not just mean TV programs. If you created an event, that was content, or if you did a short film, that was content, or a long film was a content, or music, a West End play, anything was content, wasn't it? Cultural content that a brand could do. So let's not advertise, let's do anything that's content, was broadly the theory. And then we lay over the top of that this notion that we have to be storytellers as well with our content. And brands apparently have stories that need telling, and we're going to unfold that story through all our sort of layers of content. And we've stuck to that storytelling metaphor, haven't we, for about 10 years now, despite the fact that there's not a single similarity between storytelling and our content at all. There seem to be no plot, no characterization, no beginning, middle, or end, or anything written down on paper at all in our content. But nevertheless, this is storytelling content that we are doing. So we created sort of back then lots of new video content, and we uploaded it to YouTube. We put it on our clients' websites and microsites, all very exciting, until we realized that no one knew it was there, and no one was going to see it. And the penny dropped that content wasn't actually going to be a substitute for advertising. The creation of content required advertising in order for people to know that it existed. So then we started doing some advertising for that content, but now we're doing it online. So it's digital advertising, and we're using very interruptive media formats with that advertising. So pop-ups and banners and skyscrapers and things like that. So we're sort of back to square one. But social media arrived, didn't it? And hallelujah, social media. So consumers would now do the advertising for our content for us, because they were going to share our content. Fantastic. So that was terribly exciting. So what we decided to do then was to make viral content, wasn't it? We'd make viral content and they'd share it. And then the second penny dropped, that actually real people would rather share pictures of scary cats or videos of boys biting each other's fingers than our belovedly crafted content. So you can't actually make viral content, we realised. You could only hope that your content went viral. But nevertheless, undeterred, we decided that we could get people to share our content and avoid advertising if we could get them to participate in it. Lots of participation. We're still quite keen on that. So please upload, please befriend, please get involved, please tell us about your photos and your stories and all that. And you may remember back in 2010, it prompted an open letter to the industry from a man called Brian. And Brian said this was his letter. This is true. I was watching the telly earlier today when on came an advert. It was selling sausages. It turns out they wanted me to go onto the internet after watching their advert and instead of looking at pornography, go to their microsite and put up a video that I would make. I don't know if there's been some terrible misunderstanding or you got the idea I'd like the prospect of coming home from work and spending my valuable time taking part in your idea, but here's the thing, I don't. I don't want to make a film or a picture or nominate a friend or compose a soundtrack or re-edit your advert. Really, I don't. And that was a sort of another penny dropping there of maybe interruption might be a bad thing, but requesting over-engagement is probably similarly bad. And people actually do have some real lives, and brands and communication deserve no real part in that. Then sharing became even more complicated because Facebook has turned our sort of the natural organic reach into a media buy. So now we're back buying interruptive advertising in timelines on Facebook to click through to our content. But remember, that's not advertorial, it's native content. It's native content. Don't get confused with advertorial. It's native content. So that's terribly exciting. Native content. We'll see how that goes. And if we go right up to the present day, the real status of content now, where are we? So this is Advertising Age, latest issue, and it's all dedicated to content marketing. So obviously it's going to be a big deal. And the editor does a note at the beginning, just a short one. It says American. And the headline is, like it or not. Yes, like it or not, content is the name of the game, he says. Content of the game. And so you think he's pretty clear about there's going to be a future for content, you'd think. And yet in the course of about 100 words, he finishes with this flourish. One thing is certain, he says. And you'd assume content, right? Given how he's... Right? One thing is certain, when the consultants start talking about a post-content world, remember you read it here first. So it seems to be unclear whether content is going to be the entire future or nothing to do with it whatsoever. Who knows? Who knows? But we shall see. So storytelling content. Just a few words on some of the other things. Utility. This is the theory of communications that says don't do any communications at all. Just make a better product. Because if you can make your product so good, people will naturally talk about it. Your value is baked in. That's the expression, isn't it? There's a whole book about it. You bake in your value into the product, and everyone thinks they're going to sort of start sharing that. And of course, we're living, as McKinsey was to say, in the era of radical transparency, where the truth can be known about products and brands and companies. And any marketing jazz hands can now be rumbled by the truth of the internet. And it's encouraging consumer cynicism around the sort of rose-tinted spectacles and emotions that marketing's putting on products and brands. So just go back, everybody, and make really good products because making an extra loud sizzle can never hide the fact that you've got a very small sausage. And I thought that would sound strange when I rehearsed earlier, and indeed it does. And but you see a slew of brands, don't you, now, that are propping up with this philosophy. So Everlane, Warby Parker, the Dollar Shave Club, Community Scent, that are saying, we don't spend anything on marketing, they say. We've poured all our money into the product to make the product fantastic. So buy us, because we haven't fannied around with all that sort of fluffy stuff. It's all in the product, so please buy that. And of course, it's a tremendous double bluff, isn't it? Sort of, the marketing that they're doing to say that they're not doing any marketing is the marketing that they're saying they're not doing. And so we'll see how that develops. But these are successful brands. But even the big existing brands are following this. quite smartly and in terrific ways. So I'm sure all of us have got the British Airways check-in app on our phone, and what a wonderful piece of utility that is. And of course the theory goes that that's communication, that is a service, that is utility, and that's better than any piece of communication you could ever do. So just do that. Make better products and make better utility and a better user experience, and that's the future of communication. Or so that says. Moving on, action for good. So this is sort of CSR on speed, pretty much. And this is the view that communications has to be about making a sort of an altruistic contribution to the world. The theory goes that consumers want to buy from good companies now, not bad ones, good brands and good companies, and they can find that out on the internet. And so these brands now, we insist, must have a purpose. That's now the word, isn't it? They have a purpose. And brands have to play out their purpose, but not in any messaging or any words. They have to do it by deed. So brands now have to act, not talk. And they have to play anything out, walking the talk. And so the future of communications is brand just demonstrating their wonderful altruistic commitment to society and the world and the planet and so on. And the poster child for that these days is the Tom's brand, isn't it? Everyone's talking about Tom's. So anyone born pre-1980, it's basically Body Shop is the example. But so action for good, another completely different theory. Keep going. Personalised. Well, this is sort of CRM on crack cocaine, pretty much. So we know that now you can link an individual's cookie to their phone number and their real-world address, and you know their browsing history and their purchasing history and geolocation, you know where they are, and you can create the most relevant piece of communication known to man. And you probably saw that example a couple of weeks ago of someone who, in real life, was a professional sword swallower. Did you see this one? And he, in real life, ironically, found it difficult to swallow pills, medicine, when he was taking his Nurofen, right? Poor man. But he received an ad served on his Facebook page, the headline of which said, "Are you a sword swallower who has trouble swallowing pills?" It did, and offered some easy swallow pills. And it turned out this was his mate winding him up. Because you can do that on Facebook, can't you? You can pick any audience you like, and if you know who they are, you can deliver the most relevant message. And basically, it's that, writ large. So there's a personalised theory. Just a couple more. Programmatic. I don't just mean kind of programmatic media here. I mean programmatic everything. So this is the theory that the future of communications will be decided by a computer. It will be decided by an algorithm. Because not just have we got big data, we've got predictive analytics. So we can have a pretty good idea, based on existing human behaviour, what people are going to do, which will be the same as last consumer behaviour. And do you remember that tale of the girl in America, the teenager who shopped at Target? And Target discovered that she was pregnant before she told her father that she was pregnant, based on the changing of her purchasing habits in the Target store. And they then knew perfectly well that there was 9 months' worth of communication, that they knew exactly what they would serve to this girl, because they knew what recently pregnant women would then go and buy. That writ large can be then, it is theorised, can then be programmed into a computer for all of us forever. So we can all kind of retire, but the future will be directed by a computer. And whilst we might scoff, you know, IBM, the company that said that they were going to create a computer that could beat world chess champions with Deep Blue, now of course have Watson, and it's worth reading about Watson, you know, the computer which now can respond to emotional thinking. So who knows whether that will be the case, but I don't think we should be too cynical. Finally, a theory about, I've called it be experimental. And this is a theory that says, don't bother even trying to have an answer to the question, what's the future of communication? Don't even bother, because the world's far too complicated, the world's far too unpredictable, and you'll never ever know, so don't bother trying. Instead, just do lots of stuff. Don't, anything you like, just do lots of it. And then you'll see stuff that fails, so don't do that again. So there is some theory to this. And then where stuff succeeds, you sort of feed it. And that's what you do. But there's no way you're ever going to theorize anything other than just doing it. This might sound sort of daft, but, but this is the language of the tech world. Fail fast, fail faster. Google famously saying there's no such thing as a bad, fast decision, apparently. Jeff Bezos, Amazon, says a company needs to set up and organize so that it can do as many experiments per unit of time as possible. So just spread your bets, kiss all the frogs, and you'll work it out. That's the final theory of future of communications. So 6 very different theories. You may have your own. I mean, if they've got anything in common, perhaps. You probably can't say that. There's this sense of, as we know, this sense of the future is about consumers pulling, not marketeers pushing. And we know this well. And it sounds a bit daft, doesn't it, to sort of say, well, we really should start providing value to consumers. We really should start meeting their needs, providing things that they want. That sounds a bit daft now, doesn't it? But it wasn't that long ago, I remember, in our industry, we were trumpeting the quotes from Akio Morita of Sony. And in everyone's credentials, pretty much, was his quote, that the consumer does not know what's possible, but we do. And I think there's been a sea change where we're actually recognizing that the consumer does know what's possible, and they've bought it on Groupon, and they want it delivered on Friday between 9 and 9:30. So we better get with it. So I think we have made this shift now, and I think we have realised that we have got to get clear about pull versus push. Now, there's going to be lots of threats to this. It's going to change. New theories are going to grow. Others are going to fall away. This exciting piece of animation, as I represent some bugs that come on screen, that are the threats. So new brands from India and China. Uncanny Valley, that phenomenon where you feel like you're being stalked by a computer and robots. The Internet of Things, that's going to shake things up hugely. And last, the most scary bug of all, the bug of privacy. And that's going to take us all apart pretty quickly. And new theories will emerge smartly. But I guess the point is, what do we do with all these theories? Because we can't do them all, can we? And there seems to be a bit more merit kind of than just one of them. So what do we do? How do we kind of cope with this complexity and all these options? And I think we have to sort of remember and take comfort that our industry has always had lots of theories about how communications worked. This is not new. We are not the generation faced with the most complex changing environment ever, with the most different theories. But back in the day, most of the theories of the communication were quite mechanistic. The older members of the audience may remember they all had acronyms. Do you remember AIDA and Dagmar, designing advertising goals for measuring advertising responses or something like that? And Ehrenberg with his repetition and nudging. And then there was sort of Robert Heath, thank you very much, that one. I was so uninvolved in that, I couldn't say it. And we have Paul Feldwick, I think, is at the back, pointing out we've had wrong theories all the time and highlighting the importance of emotion and creativity. So we've always had so many theories in the industry about how it works. So there's never going to be a right answer. There's never going to be a right answer. There's only going to be what Karl Popper described as verisimilitude. So answers that have a greater degree of rightness about them than others. And that's the best we're going to get. And that's absolutely fine. But we have to pursue those nonetheless. And what he said in science was it needed constant inquiry. And that's right, and that's what we need. And it doesn't matter, we shouldn't be at all concerned that we have many theories, so long as we're going to have the constant inquiry. And that's a note of sort of seriousness I'd like to kind of ring here, is that I just kind of note there's a creeping anti-intellectualism happening in our industry. As people perhaps think that action is fundamentally more important than thinking, and that thinking holds things up. Thinking makes things slow, and it's better to do than to act. And then you hear curious statements like, well, thinking just is acting and doing, or strategy just is doing. And this is nonsense. It's critical that in our industry we give ourselves the space and the encouragement to think and have that notion of constant inquiry, to be able to get to righter answers, to be able to give our clients the value that they're paying for. And to bring it full circle, that's why AdMap is so important, because AdMap is a portal for our thought and our thinking, and that's why 50 years of this is so exciting. And here's to the next 50. Kind of enough from me. Time for you lot to vote. So, can I urge you to take out your mobile phones, open up your messaging application. I hope that's not foxed too many of you already. And what you're going to do, start a new message, and you're all going to send the message to the same phone number, and that phone number is at the top. I shall read it out if you can't see it. It's 020 3322 5822. And you have to decide which one of the 6 theories that I spoke about do you think is going to be the theory that's going to have the greatest impact on the future. What's the winning theory of communication? And you'll need to look at the screens, and you'll see that the names of the theories correspond with some numbers. And you find the number next to the theory that you think wins, and you put that number into the message of your text, and you send.
Can you read them out? We can't see them.
Okay, so it's like X Factor, isn't it? If you think storytelling, dial 911855. If you think utility, dial 911859. If you think action for good, dial 911918. Personalised, 911931. Programmatic, 911946. Experimental, 911961. And we'll give that a minute while you do it, and we'll see the winner, and then we're done. Okay, everyone voted? Everyone done it? We've had 125 people vote. How many people here, Colin?
200 maybe?
200. Anyway, you missed your chance. So, it looks pretty clear from our vote this evening. So here's the headline for tomorrow. Brilliant. The winner is utility. So basically, just don't do communications, make great products. That's enough from me. Thank you very much. Brilliant.